All right, we're back. Anthony's got us remove this hat, so he's getting serious.
Yep.
Yeah. So where the hell were we? I think we were talking about mandatory vaccines and being able to return. Oh, I know.
The fear,
So we're talking.
The fear factor versus the obedience factor. I think the obedience piece, okay, in the rule following has a stronger hold on us than even the fear of disease piece. I'm not dismissing actual fear, especially with people that had family members that passed away or even had contracted it at one point themselves. But I think the whole the fear of being an outcast, okay, carries greater weight with this. Otherwise, just a simple cursory review of the certain of the protocols, okay, would show you that it's complete nonsense. Okay, you shouldn't be going if you're really that afraid. Don't go out to eat. Okay, because the whole act you're going to spend 60% of your time with your mask down anyway. With that sort of an activity, going to go get your hair cut, you can't get your hair cut with a mask, and then, but we go through all the mechanics. Okay, and we have people imposing these standards on us too. Actually, a lot of them imposing these standards at these places, and they're totally ridiculous. Okay, oh, you must keep your mask on until you're seated. Okay, California was actually had suggested to enforce compliance in that people put their masks up in between bites. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the whole activity of the fact that you're any of these activities where you're going to have your mask down for an extended period of time. Okay, if you're engaging in them, okay, then it's more you're trying to conform with the whole obedience ritual, and and I would question how much you really fear this disease if you're still taking part in these activities.
Yeah, not to get off topic a little bit, but here's a phenomenon I've been observing more recently, and not even more recently, because I think we've gone in like some cycles here. Oregon's like been one of the most restricted, lockdown states,
Mm-hmm.
And there was never any sign that like there was ever any kind of like crazy numbers from cases to deaths. I think there's just been like forget about the whole like what defines a death, but it's only been like 2,000 something for the last year or so. The rest I think they literally just opened the restaurants here again, like in the last couple of weeks, or at least in this county. No. Like the staff is limited to a certain capacity. Patrons are limited. But we haven't gone out to restaurants a lot, period. But at least not in Portland. But we stopped in one place yesterday, and we sat in like one of the indoor-outdoor tents. Everything was good. We literally sat there for about 15 minutes, and like the limited staff they had there working, just everybody was just running by, started cleaning tables, bussing tables, taking orders, delivering food. Not one person, not one employee, waitress or hostess or anybody came up and said, "Hey, can we get you guys started with something?" We were just sitting there going, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, and I keep, I'm kind of cynical, so I'm like, how do these people ever expect, their business to build back up and their patrons to come back and get their business back on, back, get their heads above water, get back in the black with this level of fucking service? It was horrible. We just got up and walked out. But then I started thinking like, oh, they're probably constrained by the stupid fucking, the Queen's orders of how many people, what the percentage of their staff can be working at any given time, based on how many patrons are allowed or the capacity is allowed, and it's not doing anything to help their business. It's lowering the bar for expectations on service. When you go out to when you go out and you expect good service and you want to leave a good server a tip, they're so hamstrung and constrained by they're just running around like fucking chickens without heads trying to serve everybody, and they're missing a decent percentage of the people that are just sitting there waiting for someone to bring them a fucking menu.
Look, the whole aspect of shutting down these places and driving and driving basic almost a entire industry into the red, okay, and even eventually having to shut down, okay, is a criminal act, and I don't want to minimize it, okay, but it's been amazing, okay, the lack of pushback that for the amount of suffering that's taken place, okay, the lack of pushback that's taken place within this industry, okay, and I'm going to say this, and it's probably might get me into some trouble, but while I can no way condone the shutting down of these businesses, if your state happens to allow you to go open up at 100%, and then you want to treat your customers in the same manner, okay, that the state has treated you, okay, and practice exclusionary practices, okay, you know what? You could stay closed for all I care, because this is going to become a big cultural fight, okay? And all these small business owners that we've tried to paint as martyrs and everything, okay, for all the compassion that you've extended to them, okay, I would venture to say 99% of them will not have one morsel of compassion when it comes to you, okay, and your refusal to take this jab on moral, religious, or conscientious grounds, okay. The whole system of control, it's not going to happen this year at that level, okay. The passport was probably going to be confined to mostly the travel industry, but make no mistake about it, this is rolling out, okay, and eventually, okay, as the technology systems and the data collection activities intensify, okay, and you start integrating things like YG and the power of that whole network, it's going to happen, okay, and if they showed little resistance to the state in terms of when faced with the fact that they could be driven out of business, okay, they're not going to have any pang of regret over keeping you out, okay? Yeah. And that's been the whole shocking part about this, okay? They will still roll over and do their master's bidding, okay, even in the aftermath of this, and to the exclusion of longtime customers that helped prop up their business too. They will have no problem with it, okay? And that's where it's heading. I hate to say it, okay? I don't want to be against these businesses, okay? These are a lot of them are legacy businesses that have been carried on for generations. A lot of them aren't necessarily high margin, especially restaurants. You're talking about profit margins. If you're getting 10% on a full service restaurant, if you have a profit margin of 10%, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. But this is going to happen, okay? And the business that you were shedding tears over, and to a certain extent, is you're going to come in conflict with them, okay? And I would say only maybe a handful are going to really care about your own personal plight, whether you could get into the store and buy what you need for your goods, to maintain your family.
Yeah. The last couple of months we've gone in, sat down, sat there like idiots for 10 or 15
Yeah.
minutes with not one person even making eye contact with us, and just got up and walked out. And I can say with 100% confidence, never going back in those fucking places.
Yeah. Yeah. It's terrible. And they on one hand they want to open up, okay. On the other, they're in a state of fear as well, especially their staff who feel that they're being thrown, to the wolves, much like the grocery store workers or whatever. Okay, that they're just sacrificial lambs because they're out on front in contact with the public.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean,
there is there there is a there are two feelings, two emotions pulling at these people. Okay, they want to stay alive and stay afoot, but there's also a certain amount of I would say regret that they have to that they have to deal with the general public.
yeah. Well, so one real issue that these restaurants have to worry about. So there's like have you heard of Deschutes Brewery?
The shoots.
Deschutes. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's a one of the older school breweries here in Oregon. It's actually the main the main brewery started down in Bend, Oregon. There's one in Portland here in the Pearl,
mm-hmm.
and it's a great beer, great food, great atmosphere. But twice, one of their staff over the last 6 months or so has tested positive, and they've had to shut the fucking entire restaurant down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even matter if they got sick there or where they were sick or how long ago they were sick. They tested positive for PCR test, and they've had to shut the entire fucking restaurant down. So I'm sure that's looming over their heads as well, because
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
but it's the same. It just opens up the whole conversation, a can of worms of like, well, are the face masks not working? Are the vaccines not working? But nobody wants to talk about that. They just want to go cases, 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 shut it down, panic, fear, and it's just absurd.
Well, like I said, the linchpin is the whole asymptomatic piece. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we're pushing the whole, as long as they're pushing the whole asymptomatic narrative, there's no such thing as a healthy person anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? You are by default, uh, a spreader, a super spreader.
Yeah.
Symptom or no symptom. And
Yeah.
I noticed there's something I should have taken a picture of it. There's this one restaurant where I live. It's a tavern, okay, and they started their outdoor dining, okay, and they have two tables outside on the sidewalk, okay, cordoned off by some gate that they have, and the people outside are actually eating in a plastic bubble.
Yeah.
Okay, now some of that could be for the elements, but a lot of it, is I mean, just think about it. Just think about the insanity of it. If I told you, back in 2019 that you'd be eating in a plastic outside in a plastic bubble, okay, with your mask, and they still had their masks on, waiting for the food, that you know, you couldn't have dreamed it. You wouldn't have. This wouldn't have been a plot in anybody's screenplay. No, in a sci-fi movie. It's surreal. It's totally surreal.
Yeah. No, they have those things all over town here, popping up left and right. I mean, we were walking out so they just opened up like the restaurants to be 50% at
Yeah,
50% capacity, I think.
Jersey just did too. Yeah.
And literally we're walking around town, and there's like there's all this construction noise, and like, what the fuck's going on with all this construction? It's like you hear like saws and electric cordless drills going, and the ratchets and those things. And like every other restaurant has, like, they're basically just taking over the curbside and putting like platforms and outdoor seating areas out there, even though they just opened up for indoor dining. And it's like, I don't understand. I guess they're preparing for shit to go backwards at some point and be able to still serve people outside.
Well, it's the weather's getting a little bit warmer, so they figured that okay, I got 50% now that I can place inside the restaurant, and they still want to prep to make up the lost revenue too. That I'm sure that's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, that is until the Board of Health or some some Karen that they hired in order to ensure compliance comes around and says, well, that enclosure is not up to health standards. Okay,
Yeah.
and you got to take it down because
Yeah.
we've seen that happen too, especially in New York City. The New York City, they're building these alternate enclosures. Okay, with, and the whole issue with a restaurant is okay. They don't have the advanced HEPA filtration systems. Okay, what do they have outside when it's not open? A lot of these enclosures weren't entirely open air. Okay, some of them are open, but most of them are closed. It's basically building an alternate restaurant outside,
Yeah.
a mini restaurant. So, but and a lot of them are getting nailed for it. They're shutting them down.
Yeah.
When you're eating outside, you need some protection from the elements.
Yeah. There's a couple places in town here that are like, they have all these like they look like little greenhouses outside of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're like running electricity out to them. They got heaters in them. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, hey, yeah, I'd like to make a reservation for 2. Would you like indoor dining, indoor dining, shoebox dining, or it's like, fuck, man. But there's another county west of the county that Portland's in. And they opened up quicker and wider. I don't know, over the last few months than the county Portland's in always the last one with this lockdown, just because the population density. But there's a place called I'll say the name because I said Deschutes before, but it's called the Margarita Factory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like the place we go when people leave work or we're celebrating something with work. But it's a humongous place. And when you go in, you go in with your mask on. They got the thermal temperature scanner. They bring you to your table, and then all the masks is up. But literally, there's like 100 people in this fucking restaurant. Everybody's at their tables. They're singing "Happy Birthday," all that shit.
Yeah.
No masks, nothing. But if you're gonna get up and go to the bathroom, man, put your mask on because you are gonna hear it if you don't.
It really. I refuse.
It's absurd.
I refuse to do it. I went out a few months ago, and the lady that I was with, she's a friend of my wife. We went to this Peruvian restaurant, and she's telling me, "Put your mask on. Put your mask on." I said, "I'm not putting on my mask on." I said, "I won't. I won't do it." I said, "Especially in a restaurant." I said, "Just on principle that the whole protocol is stupid. I won't do it." I said, "So I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going with a mask." So she had to go. She went inside to go check in advance, to make sure everything was cool. And the guy goes, "Yeah, he could come in without his mask." The place was cool about it. Okay, they were operating at the time. It was 25%. You were only allowed 25% capacity. This guy was way above that. Okay, so I'm not going to say the name of the place. And they even a lot of these places, they're dealing with public officials with the threat of being closed down and everything, but they know that the whole protocol is nonsense. Okay, the only thing I felt, I mean, I had a good time. The only thing I felt bad about the whole time was the poor waiters and waitresses that have to go around with with their muzzles the whole time while everybody's yucking it up at the table and everything. So that was the only negative to the experience. Okay, so I happened to find a business that was that says, yeah, no, we have to tell you to wear your mask. Okay, they'll post the signs out the door, no entry, no mask, no service, and all that other stuff. But when you get in there, they know it's BS. Okay, they know that the whole practice of going to your table or getting up from your table and putting your mask on is nonsense.
Yeah. Hey, look, I gotta start getting ready for my next activity here.
Okay, let's
Um,
call it a day.
let's wrap it up. Black Sheep Report, Ant and Ken, episode 15. Signing out and signing off. Ant, stop recording here, and we'll wrap up our conversation and talk about next steps. Okay.
Okay.